Speaking more about city life.
关注房子，关注城市，更关注生活。
I will see you every Wednesday night.
国际生活家直播采访秀 Vivian Speaking， 每周3晚7点半，不见不散。
Hello everyone, welcome to watch today's Vivian Speaking. Tonight our guest is Tim Fletch. He's a British photographer. He's also the president of Association of Photography based in UK, but also he is an author of a photography book, Endangered. He got a great passion for conservation. British photographer Tim Fletch photographed an array of creatures, from horse to leopards to pandas. But it isn't only the animal that makes his photography stand out. His careful observation of his subjects, combined with expert composition, lead us to discover the humor, vulnerability, and humanism these animals display. Hi, Tim. Thanks for coming to our show. And I know this is not your first time to come to China and to come to Tianjin, right? And could you tell us something about your magical relationship with our beautiful cities?
Well, yeah. I mean, I first came when I came with my then girlfriend, but now wife. I came here in 2003.
2003, that is 16 years ago, right?
Absolutely.
Wow. So what looks like in Tianjin back then?
Do you know what I remember when I first came here? I just remember so many bikes, so many push bikes. And now, of course, you don't see this many bikes now.
No.
That was the first thing. And also, you notice the colour. There's more colour now in people's clothes. The young dress very, just like with bright colours. There's a definite shift. Mm-hmm. And of course, I see it like when I come here, every so many years. It's like I see windows of time, and it's much more apparent, I think.
Okay.
When you live here, it all happens slowly.
Yes.
But when you come as an outsider, you come into a city,
yes.
You always see it with fresh eyes. Mm. And that is something that I find amazing. I come here and there's a hugely tall building where I'm staying, opposite me. The landscape keeps changing.
Yes, and because of that careful observation, right? And you can see the extremely changes for those so many years, right?
Yeah. Yes, I mean, obviously we don't experience much change in the West, but here you really do sense the energy and vitality.
Okay, and when you talk about fresh eyes, you always want to bring people, the fresh eyes to observe the subject, like animals. So that's okay. So because we will talk about animals, you are a photographer and you emphasize on the animals. So I think this is a question maybe most people will ask you, why you like taking pictures of animals?
Well, I think that I was always somebody who wasn't very a word person. I was much more someone who just was visually led. Mm-hmm. And I've always been intrigued with another animal. What is that space between us and them? It's like another sentient being, another soul over there. It's difficult enough sometimes to understand another human.
Sure.
But with an animal, it's a different space.
Yeah.
It's that which I think really intrigues me. Mm. And the other thing, of course, is that as you go down a journey of meeting different animals and finding animals that may be under pressure, then their stories come out, and you want to express that.
Okay, and I noticed that one of your book is called More Than Human.
Yes.
Yeah. So why you got that name?
This was my book that came out in 2012, and it's a book that looks at the relationship between how we shaped animals. For example, we have the dog came from the wolf, and we have a little chihuahua, the guy, and then we have the Great Dane. The way we shape the natural world, not just our pets, but also how we shape our livestock, and in a sense how we've used animals to understand better about ourselves through science. And I mean, sometimes we inquire into the very, how can I say, we've understood things about design by looking at how nature does that.
Mm-hmm.
It's bio-inspired, that's what they call it. So I was fascinated about how, for example, someone might want to create a bulletproof vest, but they would use material where they put DNA into a goat, extract from that a silk that is much, much stronger, as strong as Kevlar.
Mm-hmm.
So these unusual stories,
Okay.
as well as covering in that book.
You mean that book?
More Than Human,
Uh-huh.
looked at the relationship between how we shape nature and some of the stories about some of the animals. That were some of the stories, the first stories I ever did were also about animals that were endangered as well.
Okay, and when you talk about the design and that I heard that you were learn how to draw when you were young, right? So is that because of that you want to become a photographer later?
I think it's an interesting question, really, isn't it? I think we all start as a child. I was quite dyslexic. Found words quite difficult. So for me, visual things were easier.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in life, sometimes your disabilities determine the journey you take.
Yeah.
And in my case, I spent time contemplating and looking at nature and drawing, and by that way observing. And sometimes you have to just be present, to be in that space, in that moment.
Okay.
So that you can really sense the energy in the field. And that's quite important to observe as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think the careful observation is very important for maybe the very good characteristic for a photographer, right? And
perhaps I don't
perhaps
know. I think the thing about photography, it's just a medium,
mm.
and you could be doing so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, today we've all become photographers.
Mm-hmm.
We all have normally have a phone. So
Mm-hmm. Yes, everyone's a photographer.
So we all use images more than we've ever done before.
Mm.
The social platforms now almost are an extension of our sort of social being. We show what we eat, we show our friends, we document.
Okay.
In a way, there's a democratization with photography.
Mm-hmm.
We're all participants.
Mm-hmm. So in the daily life, when you want to take a picture, you use your smartphone or you use equipment?
Well, I'm usually photographing my wife with my smartphone.
Okay.
It's a photograph with the friends or whatever. So I do use that as we all do. But when I do my own projects, like with my animals, I'm not just interested in my experience and like sharing it, but how I can use that medium to connect us with nature. We're at a very unique time in our history, where for the very first time we are affecting the nature itself has become vulnerable, whereas it was always deemed as robust. We were vulnerable.
Yeah.
That idea that nature is vulnerable, thereby we are more, makes the questions about our relationship with nature and how we care about it and value it central to our future, our well-being, and ultimately our existence. And that for all the distractions we have and complexities that we created for ourselves, it is that relationship and understanding of that relationship which will determine our future.
Yeah, sure. When I heard your name and I told my friend, okay, I want to interview Tim. It's not because of your titles or not because of your skill of photograph, but because of what you told me, what we talk about, the connection, your connection. You help the people to do the connection with the natures, right? Because recently, lots of medium talk about climate crisis or something. Actually, that impacts nature a lot, and actually that impacts our life, right? So To be honest, everybody wants to do something, and I don't think everybody can find a way, right?
I think it's there was two things to really, first is to understand the issues. And people like myself, and I'm one of many, are trying to explore how to encourage engagement and connection. Because we can't value something unless we understand it and care. One of the great challenges we face is that scientists have great knowledge and understanding and evidence of what is happening. But until you take that and interpret it into culture, do you popularize it?
Interpret it into culture.
Interpret it into culture. That is, you move an understanding.
Yeah.
So if I can say to you, I can give you a lot of academic facts about nature, but unless it touches your heart, will you be moved to want to take action?
Yeah.
So the most important thing is to have empathy.
Empathy.
Feel, to care. And to do that, the arts play an important role.
Yeah.
They're like the translator into the emotional space, into the subconscious. And in that way, I think that many of us play that role of being like an interpreter, so that those influences in the world, I talk about the world here really, can better understand and be smarter about how they make those choices going forward.
Okay. Well, when you talk about interpret all the what you want to express into culture things, do you mean that you are writing the books endangers the book to express yourself, or is that a way, that's your way to interpret it into culture?
Well, there are many things. So when I started out taking pictures, I was just interested in the unpredictability of the animals. But as you go down the journey and you meet people, and they, in a sense, and you, in a sense, become a witness.
Witness, yeah.
You're a witness. So I've been privileged to see many endangered, though it's very sad, to witness many animals that have suffered collapse of their species. Many animals that serve very important roles to the ecology. And so in a way, you can't undo what you see. Once you witness something, you are part of that understanding.
Yeah.
And as a visual person, I deal with visual communication. What I'm interested in is how to engage people in that storytelling.
Okay. I think that's a very good point, because the witness always be the beginning of a movement, right? So if you want to do something, first thing that you can see that, right? Maybe your books or, like the endangers is help people to see, right, what has really happened in the world now, and for this endangered species.
Well, I think it was, in the book, there are many animals going extinct. I mean, some calculate 12 to 24,000 species, most of them small guys, like insects. Not so many of the iconic animals. And what I'm doing is just picking candidates to illustrate, to demonstrate those changes. There might be, let's give an example, like it might be vultures. Now, for many people, vultures are the icons of death. They eat from the dead and so on. But what they do is they're nature's cleaners. But when those species then drop in numbers, what you have is a situation like you have in India, where there's 20,000 people dying from rabies. Now you might say, what's the link between 20,000 people a year dying from rabies and vultures? Well, the fact is, when 98% of the vultures disappeared, then the feral dog population grew. Because, and they also they also pass on pestilence and rabies. So when we alter one thing, it affects something else. And this is repeated many times over. Many stories where it is in our interest to, in a sense, care for nature. It is for our own well-being that we need to understand that we came into existence with this family of animals. You take that away, that sense of kinship, or you affect that kinship, we have that connection, then we're not the same.
Okay, yeah. So I'm looking forward to move to your books. Okay, Endangers.
Right,
okay, yes. This book Endangers is published in October 2017, right?
Yes, but more recently, with Jinko, it's been published here in Mandarin.
Oh, okay, in Mandarin. So actually, this book.
In the last months.
In the last month, okay. So what we have now is a Mandarin version, right? Mandarin version,
yes, correct.
Right? Yes, and there are more than 180 animals, images appears in this book.
Yes, but in a way that might represent 70 animals. So really, it's such a small drop in the ocean of what species there are. But each one, in a sense, helps support a story.
Okay, support story. Okay, when you talk about story, how about we start from this page? Okay, this page.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Well, this is actually a strange picture. This is a panda, actually, that has been obviously loaned by China to the Smithsonian, which is Washington, D.C., and it shows a panda in an enclosure. But it's quite ambiguous. That is, you think you're in a citrus landscape, but actually there's a window in the corner.
Yeah, yeah.
But there are other images from this series which really show the successful story of the breeding program of the panda. It's one of the great successes that led the investment to bring back a species that was really struggling, and the numbers have increased quite a lot.
Yes, you know, it's a panda. It's a typical endangered species. Okay, because every Chinese people know about the pandas, but know about the pandas. Okay, it's our country's treasure, right? Animals' treasure. So beside the panda, I saw lots of animal that I saw the first time.
Right. Yes.
Right.
So there are many animals which sometimes they literally, well, they don't exist in zoos. They don't keep well in zoos, and yet they're also under even more pressure.
Yeah, even more pressure. You know, I was thinking, you know, it's, you know, you cannot say it's interesting, just like what I said. Some animals that I just found out in your book, you know,
Yes.
It's my first time to see them, but they are already been the endangered species, right?
Yes, yes. Well, in fact, most of the animals here are more endangered than the panda. In terms of the IUCN, which is which do the red list, which try to, many specialists around the world, they contribute to information related to the state of those species.
Okay.
So they bring out a list which defines whether an animal is critically endangered, vulnerable.
So among this 180 images, so which is the most remarkable photo shoot?
You know, it's very difficult to say what is remarkable.
Yeah.
I mean, the animals themselves are remarkable and they look like. I might take a picture of them to try and share that with other people. I think one of the more interesting ones was the saiga, which is this antelope with a funny proboscis nose and antlers, and they're critically endangered. They are found right from almost the Caspian Sea in Russia, through Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, through to Mongolia, and they look like something from the Ice Age. They're such an unusual looking creature.
Okay, could you just
if I can find it.
Yeah, I know there's 300 pages here, right?
Yes. I've got a snow leopard here. I'm always not so good at finding my own images.
I think I saw.
This is the one.
Okay. Yes. It's not what you are talking about, right?
This is the one that I mentioned that looks so unusual.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Do you want to hold it up?
Yes. Okay. So this is the one. So what's the name?
A bit more.
Okay.
You won't be able to see it.
Yes, better. So he knows angles. Yeah. So the name of this animal?
It's called a saiga.
Saiga.
Yes.
Okay.
It's basically the males have the horns, but sadly there's been a lot of pressure on them for hunting, and as a result, their numbers have collapsed.
Yeah. Okay, so any other interesting stories that happened?
Wow.
So lots, right?
Because I spent time sort of diving in the Galapagos Islands. So seeing above me, literally above me, the hammerhead swarming above me. That was quite extraordinary. I also took my son, who's that time was only about 8 or 9, to Mexico to see the butterflies.
To see the butterflies.
The butterflies, they cluster in great groups. I'd see if I can find them here.
Yeah, sure.
But they're very, they are, I don't know if I hold this one up. Let me give this a go. So they're literally like a blanket of butterflies.
Wow, yeah. So is that real? I mean,
Yes.
all the butterflies.
In fact, I think there's another picture of them in the sky. You can imagine
Oh,
the sense
wow.
of wonderment for a child seeing that. So my son didn't come on many trips with me, but it's nice that he could be at least on this one.
Okay, so what did he say when he saw the thing?
He was taking a camera, trying to photograph, and then sort of creep up slowly with me so we could get position.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that children today, more than ever, are connected with nature. We're at a time where we've never been more separated from animals. And in the UK, they did a study with English school children, and from 4 to 11-year-olds, and they asked them what to identify British wildlife.
To identify
British wildlife.
British
wildlife.
Okay.
And they could identify more Pokemon characters than British wildlife. So plenty of cartoon characters.
Yeah.
I suspect that it's not just the UK that has this problem, but we are at the time when we most need to understand nature, never been more separated from nature.
Yes. You know, you just reminding me, yes, some painting master said that if you never touch the trees, I mean the surface of trees, you will never, draw something, well in the nature, So to encourage the kids to go into the nature, to feel that, to see the animals, things like that.
Well, I think there's also an important element to that because a lot of psychologists have looked at how people, there's a lot more stress in society, and they find that people who spend time in the woods just are more likely to calm down, to relax. So it has a lot of things to offer.
Yeah.
Just to take your family out into the woods, experience nature.
To discover something.
Really important.
Yeah. Maybe you can organize some workshop there one day, right?
Yes. But I think that this is, we're speaking globally here. This is just the world generally. We've become, we've accelerated, we've got this great acceleration and we've developed all these technologies, but ultimately, we evolved through nature. We evolved evolution to so long to happen, and in a way, you might say that we need to keep that connection.
And you photograph lots of animals, right? From horses to leopard, to tigers, something. So I always have a question: do you ever feel threatened when you work with those wild animals?
Well,
I always think about that, right?
There have been moments, obviously, when obviously you feel you've got to be really careful. I have worked with a lot of animals that like predators and things, but most of the time what I do is I work with good people that know what those animals.
Oh, okay.
And usually, they are either closer to the lion than I am. But then there's the old saying: the person who's worried is the person who runs the slowest. But for the most part, I'm working with really good people who then guide me, and we try to be sensible. I'm no hero. I'm not going to take a gun-ho approach and go into a situation where I could get in trouble.
Yeah.
What I will do is I'll work with people who really know their stuff, so that you take a calculated gamble.
Okay.
There's always a gamble, don't get me wrong. I've climbed up forests and trees to take shots. I dived under the water. I've just come back from the Arctic, for example.
Okay.
So there's a degree of risk, but I don't take it unless I calculate, I work it out. And
also, you have a team to work together, right?
Well, I certainly ask when I know that safety's at hand, and I mean, it's really a difficult situation, then I'm going to make sure I do my homework. If the climate's very, very cold, then I'm going to find out what I need. That just goes with it.
Yeah. Okay. And for this book, and you said that you hope this book will inspire, challenge, and inform. That you might use this book as a springboard for positive actions. So, what exactly you mean by inspire, challenge,
it's interesting
and
because I
inform?
wrote that in 2017. So now the book has just become just published here. And I think the children's book will be published here. I've got a children's book coming out.
Oh, really? When?
In the UK and America and I think Australia, it's coming out this next month. Essentially, it's aimed at those young children and the portraits.
I was thinking that because my son likes your books, even though this is a book for adults, but my son likes it very much. I'm thinking if one day you got the book for children, they will be amazed. Yeah.
But and this is so I wrote that statement about, I hope this will inspire. But in fact, what has happened since that time is that certain nature documentary teams who I met up and discussed and asked them questions about their work with conservation have been influenced. I'm now working with academics who are social scientists who are just publishing work which reveals what type of depiction of animals really connects us. If we have empathy and feeling, then we're like to support conservation.
Yeah, sure.
We can know the fact, but it doesn't necessarily follow that we take action.
Yes.
So it has definitely, I feel very privileged that it's influenced other photographers, but also I'm exploring, it's opened doors to questions about how our brains work. And neuroscience, I'm working with neuroscientists, social scientists, and by doing those we create tools. And those tools hopefully will allow other photographers in the future to take pictures which they have better sense of how it might create change.
Yeah.
So in a way, I worked with a very eminent scientist, Professor Jonathan Bailey, with this book, in that he wrote the epilogue and the prologue. And he's now with National Geographic. So all those things, they all have knock-on effects.
Okay, and I just, a question just pumped out that you got a son now, it's 12 years old, right? And
yes.
You've been doing a focus on the controversial things for so many years. So how does all the things impact him?
Well, a 12-year-old who likes playing football, and he's just a typical, he's just a typical boy who likes that. But interesting enough, when I'm not around, I know he gave a presentation about endangered animals. And he also did a project here in China where they helped schools in the northern part of China to help with education projects. So he gave a talk about conservation. So, in a way, he doesn't tend to do it with me, but then obviously it does influence him.
Yeah.
But he's a typical 12-year-old boy, likes to go out and play. But I think he's been around the subject, so I think he understands a little bit about it.
Okay, so thank you for answering all of this question, and thanks for coming. And I hope this episode of Vivian Speaking can be the springboard for some positive actions later. Okay, so
I really appreciate being invited here, so thank you. I'd also just like to say one thing.
Okay.
It's never before been more important to connect people with nature. And that I really do believe that our future depends on it.
Okay, yes, me too. Thank you so much, Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.